Okay, so welcome to the final video in this course. The last video we actually got streaming and got recording, so that was the purpose of this course, which was to get you from nothing to installing OBS to creating some scenes and to actually get streaming or recording. This is kind of an extra video, just to say thank you for getting this far. But I just wanted to cover a couple of little points. One was that there are many plugins available for OBS, which the installation of which I'm not including as part of this course because it does vary between whether it's a Mac or Windows, and actually the information you have for each of the plugins is actually quite useful, and you can follow the steps for when you download the plugins. So if we go to the obsproject.com, go to forum, and then down here, if I just scroll down slightly, there's plugins. If I click the plugins, then you can say OBS Studio plugins, and then off you go. There's a whole set of them, and there's a vast number, and there's some that are beyond this website as well. If you just search for OBS Studio plugins, you'll find a huge selection of things to do. There's also scripts as well, where you can connect all sorts of things together. There are many YouTube videos available for people's favourite plugins and what they do and how they do it, and I highly recommend you having a look at those. And there's some fantastic ones, all sorts of things to do, all sorts of effects and all sorts of useful things inside OBS. So go for that, and you'll find that you can extend OBS for free to do all sorts of amazing things. It's just incredible. I have experienced several of them, but I wanted to keep this course nice and crisp and clear on just basic vanilla OBS. However, saying that, there is a useful piece of equipment which is an Elgato Stream Deck, and it comes in various different flavors. This is my live Stream Deck, which I've got here. Here's my live fingers pointing to that Stream Deck, and essentially it's just a bunch of buttons that you can press, and they do different things. It can be used outside of OBS. It can be used for all sorts of different things. And up here in the corner of, or in the status bar of my MacBook, is the Configure Stream Deck button. I will say you do have to pay for it. It's a piece of hardware that you pay, and it's pay for once, and plug it in, and then you can do all sorts of marvelous things with it. This here, as you can see, is a representation of that that you can see from my live camera, and you can see there's a little welcome button in the middle. And once you've got your Stream Deck, you just literally plug it in, download the software, and away you go. And it comes with built-in features from OBS Studio, and they're improving it all the time. You can get this size one, there's a bigger one, there's a smaller one, there's one for the an app for a mobile device, but essentially you end up with a bunch of buttons that you can do different things with. You're not limited to this number of buttons because you can add a folder, and then from there, if I just go to the Stream Deck, where's folder gone? Can't see folder, create folder, there we go. If I create a folder and then double click that, then I now have a whole other set of buttons. If I add another folder to that, I can go one more deep, and I can keep coming up, and you can just keep adding folders and doing whatever you like, really. This isn't an in-depth Stream Deck tutorial, but I wanted to just show how I use it and how I find it very useful. So there's a welcome button here, and I can just literally drag this welcome button wherever I like, and for now I'm just going to delete it because it doesn't really have any use for me. The first and simplest thing that we can use the Stream Deck for is for scenes. So I'm going to add a scene here, just on the right hand side so we can see it, and straight away it's come up with a scene, and it says scene collection. So that's my first collection. Remember, if I go back into OBS, that's this scene collection here that we talked about. So this is the complete set of scenes, kind of your folder for all things scene related. And then I can say, okay, first collection, and the scene I'm going to have is just face cam. Okay, that's great. Then I'm going to add another scene, and I'm going to have first collection, and this is going to be screen share. And then I'm going to have another scene, and this is going to be Stream Deck. And you'll notice that that one is now slightly glowing. It's not so obvious, but it's more obvious actually on this page here. And if I reach with my finger and I press this one, then as I've pressed that one, I've now moved, this is good here, I've now moved to screen share. If I then go back to Screen Deck, yeah, you'll see that one's highlighted. If I then press this button, as I press that, it goes to face cam. because that is the face cam button that I've selected up. And if I press the bottom one here, it takes me back to screen share. Yeah, that's great. And that's fantastic. You can also make it slightly more obvious. I can go here and I can call this face cam. And there's all sorts of ways to realign the titles and change the fonts. And then this one I can call screen. This one I can call stream deck. So you get a little bit of text that you can have. You can't see it ever so well. If I put my finger in the way, that might actually focus the camera slightly better. But facecam, screen, screen deck, and so that you just get a little bit of text that's on there. In addition, you've got icons. So down the bottom here, I've got an icon. So if I then go to here, I've got an icon for a face. I can drag that onto here. Any image will do, actually, as long as it's an image file and it's roughly square. It makes it easier to see. I can then get rid of this text because that then doesn't look so sensible. But there's a little picture of a man. I've lost my camera. There we go. It's come back. The iPhone connection gone for a moment. But there's a picture of the face cam. So now it's much easier for me to see that there's a little picture of a man there. So if I see the little picture of the man, I can press the picture of the man and I'll get the man come back. So that's one use for the little pictures. The other thing I also have is, if I go to the configuration again, I like to have the recording. So if I go here, it says record. I can drag the record option onto here. And this button is a multi-purpose button. So if I press the button, you can see it's that color. If I press it then has a little recording thing, so you can see that you're recording. If I press it again, you'll see it stops recording, and it's just built into OBS. Again, I like to use some little pretty pictures. So I've got a live record stop, which is a little green cassette, and then the other version of the button is live record live, which is a little red cassette. So now if I press at the moment it's green because it's not recording, but if I press the button it'll go as a little red cassette to show that it's recording. If I press a button again, it'll go back to a green cassette to say it's not recording. And you can do the same thing with streaming. You can have a live streaming button, so that do exactly the same thing. You've got streaming and not streaming, and as you press it, so the button changes. Yeah. So you can do all sorts of different things on this. You can also apply the same thing to a source. So let's have a look at this Stream Deck. Let's add a new source. Let's add a media source, and we'll have the chat. And what we'll have is we'll have the little chat version of my wife turning up and down. And at the moment I'll loop it. So here's the chat version of my wife. I'm just going to move this down here, make it quite small so it's not in the way. Like that. There we go. And I'll lock that. So there we go. So that's my wife with her chatbot. If I go to the Stream Deck, and in here I'll add a new source by dragging source in, and we'll go to the Stream Deck scene and then the chat there. Simple as that. I've now got a new little clapperboard, and if with my finger I go to the clapperboard and I press it, it'll hide it and it's gone dark. If I press it again, it'll go highlighted and it'll come back. And that's great. And again, I can do the same thing that I did a moment ago. I can go to the icons that I've got, and I've got a little chat icon, so I can drag that onto there. And it then looks like that. And it's much more obvious. That's the chat. There you go. It's alive. It's not alive. It's alive. It's not alive. Now that's okay, but we knew when we spoke about this before, this isn't really a loop. So what we want is we want it to appear, and then when it's finished we want it to disappear. But you remember how in order to make it disappear properly, to get it to come again, I've got to press the button again, so once to get rid of it and then once to get it back again. Well, that's a bit irritating, but the Stream Deck has something very nice. So I can go to here, I'm going to delete this, and instead I'm going to replace it with a multi-action. Now in here I can do all sorts of things. So I'm going to put two sources in here. The first source is going to be the chat activate, and the second source is going to be the chat deactivate. So now I've got on off, which will happen straight away. But under Stream Deck there's a delay, so I can put a delay in here and I can have it for 10,000 milliseconds, which is essentially 10 seconds. And now if I go back, I'll add a little chat icon to it like we did before. Now if I press this chat, you can see how this is disabled at the moment. If I press the chat, I'll press it, it'll have a little nearly completed checkbox. The video will run and the chat box is counting to 10. When it gets to 10 seconds, which will be any moment now, it'll go tick and the other actions happened. So you can stack up all sorts of icons or actions that will happen one after the other with a delay in between. I also, in a previous stream setup, I used to have 2 microphones, so one for the piano and one for me talking. I've changed that all and do it in a different way now, but so I had one button on the Stream Deck which switched between the two. So it turned one off and turned one on again, and then when I pressed it again, it turned the other one on and turned it off again. Yeah, you've got all sorts of options available for this Stream Deck. Again, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos available online onto how to use the Stream Deck, but it is, for streaming, it is an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. It's just brilliant. You can have all sorts of different profiles as well. So you can have one profile. I have one profile for teaching, I've got another profile for streaming, and it's just a marvellous piece of equipment. I highly recommend it. So that's that. That's the Stream Deck. Just a little bit of an overview. There are many videos available for training on the Stream Deck, but it really is plug and pray. You just plug it in and away you go. You can't go wrong. So I hope this course has been useful. It should get you started with OBS, just dragging some things in there. You can't really do anything wrong. Everything you do you can take back again. And so it's dead simple. Just go for it, duplicate some scenes. If you've got a scene that you think is just about right, but you want to fiddle with it, then just duplicate it, experiment with the next scene, and then if you don't like it, you can always get rid of one or the other. So I hope you've found it useful. Enjoy using OBS. It's a fantastic piece of kit, and it's all entirely free. So I look forward to seeing you in another course. Anyway, have fun, go forth and stream well.